How can you craft excellence in hospitality? I'm Kate Save. The Inspired CEO starts now. Welcome to the Inspired CEO, where each episode we explore the innovative wellness practices that are driving success and longevity in the modern business world. Today, we're thrilled to welcome a trailblazer in Melbourne's hospitality scene. With 30 years of leadership and a Michael Milburn Lifetime Achievement Award, his dedication continues to set the standard in the industry. Joining me now is Hatem Saleh, founder, CEO and Managing Director of Atlantic Group. So great to have you here today.
Thank you for having me, Kate. I'm excited to be here.
Now, you've had a fascinating journey and I guess lots of ups and downs, particularly through COVID, but we'll get to that part later. Tell me, how did you start? Where did you come up with the vision for the Atlantic Group and how did you want to change the industry through your vision?
Well, really, my need to get into the business initially as a young man was out of necessity. And sitting back in the green room with some pretty incredible people and the conversation coming up about cancer. Well, I was forced into the industry via an operation that my mother had to have when I was a young man at 16 years of age for breast cancer. And I developed this love for hospitality. So between the age of 16 and 20, where I needed to work, I fell in love with hospitality. So of course, I go on to do accounting at university. Yeah. And then from there, made the decision that I wasn't going to practice, I was going to go into hospitality as my career. And so I started a little restaurant in Fitzroy Street, St Kilda, called the Atlantic Restaurant. And that was my entry into the hospitality world in my own business. Yes. And then a few years passed and that one business led to a second one, which was going to start down at South Wharf. Yeah. And that was a function space at South Wharf in Shed 7 at the time, and that's how the group formed. So the Atlantic Group was born out of a need in one capacity, but out of a gap in the marketplace, and that was, once I understood the restaurant world, I realized my passion was for high-end catering, catering for larger numbers, doing it really well and doing it elegantly. And in my training between 16 to 20, 21, I worked in function rooms in my local area in Tullamarine. And that was, you know, Melrose, Melbourne. It was basic, it was very European. Yeah. You learned how to do lovely food. The service was simple, but that also gave me the grounding for what I enjoyed, and that was high end. I knew that I wanted to go into high-end catering, and that's what led me to start the group. Yes. Because there was a need in the marketplace to do beautiful restaurant caliber food, but in a function environment.
So I must say I've been to some of your exquisite restaurants and the food is spectacular, but rolling out more and more restaurants, how do you ensure that you maintain that same standard?
Look, I think I'm quite lucky because we are quite diverse. So whether it's a premium high-end restaurant like the Atlantic Restaurant at Crown, which is 14 years on, and still going strong.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's huge.
Little Sushi Baby in Brighton,
yes.
Which is, you know, only 12 months or so on. But it's about consistency. Yes. And the only way to create a brand and to create something that's special, that people will frequent, it's got to be about the quality, it's got to be about the consistency, it's got to be about the presentation, and the value for money today is equally important because it is tough to make a dollar and people work really hard for their money now. Yeah. The margins are thin in whatever business you're in. So the opportunity, I guess, to take that, go and eat somewhere, we see it as a privilege to host and have people come at our venues. So the idea of giving them an extraordinary experience, something that pushes the boundaries, something that's a little bit more unique than what they thought they were going to get, and certainly greater value for money, is the way to create consistency, whether it's a function room, whether it's catering, and of course, you know, we are in restaurants, catering, function rooms, and all aspects of hospitality, including bars and nightclubs. But it's about making sure that the customer walks away and goes, that was a really good value for money experience.
I can tell just by what you said then, you're obviously a fantastic leader, because that, I guess that emphasis on actually delivering a service more so than just the product and really exceeding people's expectations, that would flow through to your entire team and leading by example. So how do you really guide your team to lead by example also to their peers and their juniors?
Yeah, it's a great question. Only last night I was at our venue Sophia in Paran, and we're hosting an event for a client, and I knew quite a few people that were the guests in the room. Yeah. And this particular person said to the friend that he was talking to when he saw me in the room, he goes, "Oh, this guy here is the greatest host I've ever met." And I looked at him and I said, "Why do you say that?" And he goes, "For 30 years, I've been going to your events, I've been in your venues, and somehow you always just appear and you always are just there to come and meet and greet and say hi. And it gives us as guests or clients this comfort that, look, the owner is invested, he's here." So I guess if you take a leaf from his book on his interpretation of my interaction with the room or with the guests, it probably highlights that we're all invested. All of our key staff, all of our key people, down to the waiters, barmen, staff that are serving on the floor. If they see the presence of the senior management, the owners walking around, then they also feel a sense of importance and stature and this ability that I've got to deliver because he's here too. And we take the same approach whether we're catering for 20,000 people at the Formula One Grand Prix in Melbourne, or whether we're doing the Melbourne Cup Carnival during the springtime. It's about having that presence. In the morning or in the afternoon, we'll do a briefing, we'll get everyone together, we'll rev them up, make sure they all look on brand, they're presented beautifully down to the socks, the shoes are all clean and looking perfect, because they are representing our brand. And the Atlantic Group brand is synonymous for quality and for delivering at a high end, no matter what the numbers are.
I can tell you are very, very passionate and also proud of your brand, and that shows in all of your venues. And what about philanthropic initiatives? What are you passionate about there?
Look, I feel extremely privileged. I've just been asked to join the board of the Epworth Foundation, Epworth Hospital, and for me, we've been supporting philanthropic movements like Epworth for many, many years. We've got lots of regular clients that are part of that. And I guess from my perspective, once upon a time, as I said, my mother not being well, the Epworth as an example has been there for my family and my mum and others always. And that's made me extremely proud. So always happy to donate. But equally, recently I was approached by a young man, Daniel Noor, through my ambassadorship with LSH Auto Mercedes. And we put on this event for street side medics. And essentially it was bringing this service of doctors that meet where the homeless and the less privileged eat or are fed, whether it's through the Salvation Army or others. And they essentially bring a vehicle that's got doctors on board that host and look after them. And take them in for a checkup, or whether it's a blood test, or if they're suffering a problem. Quite often they don't have a Medicare card, they don't have an address, and they don't get the care that they need. So I feel equally blessed that when we can, and being in business and working hard, there's got to be a philanthropic percentage within our business that goes to supporting these types of foundations or causes, because they're really important.
And that's beautiful that you want to give back, because you have had your own struggles in recent years, and I don't think anybody did it easy during COVID, particularly in Melbourne. We really copped it in hospitality. So tell us how you got through that journey.
Look, we probably need another 30 minutes for that, but look, the story goes 28th of August 19, Central Pier, business is going great. We're doing exceptionally well. 4 function rooms under the Atlantic Group banner in Shed 14, Alhambra at the end of Shed 9, and then the Woolshed pub at the front, and a couple of other little tenancies in between, including our office, a bakery called the Mill and Bakery, Mama Canteen, a little Middle Eastern restaurant. On that day, we get a call, it's all over, you need to evacuate, the pier may collapse. We never went back. And the sad story about that was the business was thriving. But if you can imagine almost 1,000 events booked into the future, that I had to then explain and meet with each one of them one by one and explain to them that I have been told by the particular bureaucracy that was running this area that I've got to evacuate, and that was Development Victoria at the time. And a very unfortunate situation for everyone involved, but particularly unfortunate for my staff, for the people that had businesses on that pier, as well as all of the guests that we could no longer look after. Wind the clock forward 5 years later, it took to settle and resolve that matter. But in between, 6 months after this occurred, of course, was that famous Friday the 13th. I'm standing at the Grand Prix, ready to go. We've got 1,200 staff there, ready to look after the 20,000 people that we're looking after over the course of that week. And the doors don't open. So essentially it was a tsunami followed by a volcanic eruption that led to the complete demise of our group and our business. But the story of resilience has to come into play, and I think...
How do you maintain your resilience through all of this? This is absolutely unbelievable. Most people would never have felt that pressure in their lives, yet here you are and you're back up again. What do you do for your health? How do you maintain resilience?
Look, there's so many elements to that. You know, it's about maintaining your self-care. It's about the family, understanding that everyone's relying on you. It's about your staff. It's about the people that are all relying on you to get back up and get through this. So I think all you can do in that time is to be healthy, eat well, be fit, train, exercise, meditate, and do those things, because you're so up against it, and there's very little chance that many people are going to get through that. But the only way you can is to actually take the attitude that I won't give up and I will get through this. And I was fortunate that I was lucky that I had great people around me, family, friends, mentors and others that were just there to say, you know what, you'll get through this and you'll get it done. And we're here to tell the story. We're bigger and better than ever, and excited to keep doing what we do in hospitality in Melbourne.
Well, congratulations to you, and thank you so much for sharing so deeply and so honestly. I think our listeners will get a lot out of this today. So this is Ticker, and we will be right back.
You're watching Ticker. We'll have more in just a few minutes.